I'm really excited to have I'm not going to have a conversation, but to hear the keynote from Gracy Chen, who is coming up next. Gracy is Managing Director for Bitget, and she spearheads the market expansion and corporate development globally. I was speaking to a colleague of yours, Gracy, Debbie, recently, and she told us that you were going to be joining us from the Hello Lab studios, where you are a judge on the upcoming Web3 Shark Tank Killer Whales, which is the TV show over in LA. And she did say there might be a little bit of, I don't know, maybe intermittence or dropouts because you are in the studios. But I thank you for your time today, and I'm really looking forward to hearing what you have to say. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for the introduction. And by the way, I'm done with the show already, so I'm back to my hotel. You can see probably the background is blurred, but I'm in the hotel, so the Wi-Fi is good and we should be fine.
Oh, perfect.
I had a very exciting morning.
Yeah. Well, what can you take us just even 2 minutes or 1 minute through what the morning might have looked like?
Oh, sure. So I wake up 6 a.m. and I went to the studio at LA Hollywood. So actually that's a studio where actually Batman movie, they had a Bat cave, and where Bruce Wayne, he took his car, like very fancy technological cars there, and they had a shoot there. But basically this is a fancy studio, and the Killer Whale, like you introduced, it's a crypto reality show. I'm the only judge who is women of color. And I'm very glad to be a female representative among judges and have more, everyone to have more educational content supplemented. And I think the show will be out later this year, maybe on Netflix, Hulu, and some of other TV channels. I'm very excited.
I'm very excited. I have not seen a Web3 show on Netflix or any other platform. So I'm super excited, and I can't wait to see you. So what I will do is hand over to you now, Gracy. It's such a pleasure and an honor to have you on board today. I will let you take the stage. Welcome.
Great. Thank you. Good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone. I'm so happy to be speaking at Blockchain Week Australia too. So just before the pandemic, I actually visited the Gold Coast for a conference. Gold Coast in your country, and got an instant sense of how welcoming Australia is. So on my first day, this is a little story. Yeah. On my first day, I was standing on the street trying to figure out where I had to go when I felt a tap on my shoulder, and a young couple asked, "Need any help?" They even offered to walk me to the conference center. I've always seen Australia as a vibrant and multicultural community, and always an incubator for innovation. So I'm very excited here to kickstart day 4, when we will explore in the international landscape. So as you can see from the screen, my topic today is going to be looking back to look forward. So let's look back first. Last year was really rough for the crypto industry, because we had the collapse of Terra Luna, Celsius, 3AC, and biggest of all, FTX, which wiped out over $2 trillion USD from the crypto market. Even though we're still in a bear market right now, there's still a lot to be excited about. For example, the events that happened in the very first half of 2023. Upturn in Bitcoin price, the emergence of LSDFi and AI concept, the rise of Arbitrum ecosystem, and then the popularity of meme coin led by Pepe. And most recently, there has been a noticeable shift of funds flowing back to LSD projects. So all of these things have been truly exciting and transformative. So today, I'm going to run through some of the sector highlights, some of the key areas that have been driving the crypto market. And then we will talk about what's been happening by regions, specifically the US, Asia, Middle East, and Europe. Finally, I'll cover the 3 key themes that I believe are going to dominate the rest of this year. So let's start with removing barriers to entry. As you can see from the screen, sectors, we think these are some of the important sectors, especially in terms of driving mass market and mass adoption. Both the established companies and some new projects have been exploring ways to drive that momentum. And things like different areas in Web3, stablecoin and the CBDC kind of, friend-enemy relationship, and then AI. These are three things I want to highlight, but of course there's so many interesting things, NFT, SocialFi, GameFi, that is happening as well. We just don't have time to cover everything. So let's talk about Web3 first. In Web3, I think layer 2 ecosystem is thriving. So in February this year, Coinbase announced the launch of Ethereum layer 2 network base. Similarly, there are some other tokens in layer 2 or some other ecosystems in layer 2 thriving. For example, Arbitrum token launch in March. I hope you guys participated. And actually, Bitget was one of the first exchanges to list Arbitrum. And then we've seen many ZK layer 2 solutions coming from Polygon, ZK Sync, Consensus, Darknet, all these Starknet. All these layer 2 solutions are trying to provide a more scalable, more secured, and as well as maintain centralized for the Ethereum network. And then people are also building projects on tipping. Some people call it TIPIN, TIPIN, token incentivized physical infrastructure network. Some people call it dipping, POPW, EdgeFi. It doesn't matter whatever you call it. These umbrella terms all described network that is linking the real world stuff and the world and the crypto world. So for example, cloud network, that's a subsector in TIPIN. It's almost like a Web3 version of Google Cloud or Amazon Cloud that people are building. These are the things that bridge the digital and physical spaces. Of course, it's very hard because these are, Google and Amazon we're talking about. It's hard to beat them. But I'm glad that I saw lots of projects in this space, and it's also thriving. And also, I mentioned earlier, DeFi, LSDeFi, these are very important sectors in Web3 too. Now let's talk a bit about stablecoin and CBDC. So in March this year, we saw that centralized, because we run one of the largest centralized exchanges, right? So we witnessed an increased inflow of stablecoin, especially in the March. At the present, well, the off-chain collateralized stablecoins such as Tether, USDT, and USDC Circle, along with the on-chain collateralized stablecoins like Maker, they appear to have become the key services providers for stablecoins. And then CBDC, central bank digital currencies, that's another very important sector which has emerged as a hot topic. I actually wrote an article about CBDC that was published on Cointelegraph earlier this year or later last year, but where we studied CBDC, and we see just in this year 2023, over 20 countries such as Thailand, Brazil, India, South Korea, and Russia have taken or will take significant steps towards piloting a CBDC. And in Australia, where you guys, majority of your audience probably are in Australia, there is a pilot with EAUD as well. So all these CBDCs initiatives hold the potential to streamline transactions, enhance financial inclusivity, and shape the future of cross-border payments. Then some people ask me, what is the relationship between stablecoin and CBDC? Are they friends or are they enemies, or is it a friend-enemy situation? I would say it's probably a friend-enemy situation, because CBDC and stablecoin, somehow or another, there is competition. But the competition between them is somewhat limited due to the fundamental differences in their respective mechanism. For example, the objectives, the user cases, they are different. And I'm very excited to see what the future will look like, because I believe that these two should coexist and will both foster a more diverse and complex digital currency ecosystem. And that can only be good for all of us. Now let's move on to the topic of AI. Well, who doesn't love AI, right? AI is the hottest topic in town. And we've seen AI dominate the headline this year. Not just this year, even like since later last year, September-ish, when ChatGPT become a mass usage. People often view Web3 and AI as competitors. In the short term, I would say I agree, they might be. For example, VCs are putting money into AI over Web3. It's also attracting more talents and media. However, in the long run, I think they are going to go from enemy to friends because AI is the technology that can help us improve our industry in powerful ways. But Web3 is more about the relationship of how, machine, AI, human being, virtual world, real world interact. Having studied at MIT, actually, there are two hats in front of me. One is from, can I see? Bitget. So this is my Bitget managing director hat. And then there's another like MIT hat because I was a student there. Having studied at MIT, every time AI shows up in the news with some wild headlines, I'm always asking my PhD friends or AI professors, what's really happening? I'm so intrigued by how AI can be applied to our industry, to crypto, blockchain. And at Bitget, we are not just applying AI into some straightforward applications such as translation or customer service. We're also experimenting with AI in trading activities, in risk management. So let me just share with you 3 applications that we see a lot, or we did a lot. Number 1, risk management. AI can automatically monitor trading activities based on predefined risk parameters. Number 2, analyzing data sources. Whether those information or something you hear, is it from a trusted news source? Is it from a trusted social media? Or is it something historical? AI can quickly process and interpret large amounts of data to make more informed trading decisions. And number 3, AI can help with execution in a manner that's much faster and more efficient than human beings. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. Now let's move on to the second bunch of topic that we want to cover, region. Region by region, Bitcoin, Ethereum, or in a bigger sense, cryptocurrency functions very differently. And we want to look at 4 areas specifically: the US, the Asia, the Middle East, and the Europe. First of all, let's look at the US. That's the biggest brother, right? Earlier this year, the collapse of Signature Bank, Silicon Valley Bank, and then Credit Suisse, of course, Credit Suisse is more of a European thing. They led to the recent liquidity crisis in the banking industry and government intervention. And we see that data indicated that emergence loans provided by the Federal Reserve surged to approximately 300 billion, and discount window borrowing by banks from the Fed surpassed the previous peak during the 2008 financial crisis. So in the short run, this could be bad news for our industry. But in the long run, this is still the future. I think the US government knows that. And we really hope that there are more regulatory clarity out of the market. Now let's move on to Asia. Asia has been a big mixed bag of activities. Each country operates very differently. For example, Hong Kong, they just opened up a lot, like 1st of June this year, right? That's when Hong Kong opened up to allow retail investors to buy and sell the major cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin and Ethereum. And then they've also defined a very interesting or very a pretty good legal framework for exchanges to apply and do during a transition period. And then moving to other places in Asia like Japan and South Korea, they continue to adopt a more supportive approach to crypto. They are implementing thoughtful licensing framework for cryptocurrency exchanges, and all the countries are thriving to strike a balance between fostering innovation and maintaining consumer protection measures. Middle East. when it comes to promoting crypto innovation, the UAE has always been front and center with some interesting initiatives such as Bitcoin Tower in Dubai. I thought this is quite interesting I mean, it's still building, but the fact that there's a Bitcoin Tower, I think that's interesting. And then there are real money inflow, like investment from Saudi Arabia. These appears to have vitalized the whole industry. So moving to Europe, and by the way, I was just coming back from London and Paris last week. Yeah, I just flew from Paris to LA. And I was in Europe attending some conferences, such as this conference from Coin Bureau and Proof of Talk, Web3 conference. And we discuss a lot in those conferences in terms of the EU legal framework, such as MiCA. It's very important, and MiCA appears to be one of the best or the most comprehensive frameworks so far. And we saw exciting innovation with Galaxy Digital and asset manager DWS developing European listed ETPs. And that gives the investors access to digital assets through traditional brokerage account. So later today, I know all the speakers, they will cover many of these topics and more things coming up. And now let's move on to the Edge 2 key themes. Looking ahead, I believe there are 3 themes that are poised to dominate the remainder of the year. Number 1, increased transparency of centralized platforms. Especially after the FTX fallouts, centralized platforms need to continue to build trust through greater transparency. So issuing regular up-to-date information such as proof of reserve status and transparency reports, like the ones presented by us at Bitget, helps users understand the platform's performance, trading volumes, token dynamics, and ecosystem development. Take us, for example. At present, Bitget's user asset reserve ratio is as high as 200%, and our US 300, I think it's valued at 350 right now, 350 million USD, which we call Bitget Protection Fund, adds an extra layer of security for our users. And it's all in open wallet where people can check and see for yourself. The second trend is DeFi and decentralized applications. DeFi has always remained a focal point, and right now the improved user interface, especially those DeFi projects that has not high standard of user experience with the decentralized nature and crypto nature, that's the kind of project that we think will be important in the future and where people like. And thirdly, yes, regulatory development and global collaborations. So right now, of course, we talked a lot about regulations already. We think the regulatory development will continue to be an important topic in the upcoming few years. And recently, just like last week, right, we saw BlackRock announced the application for the first BTC spot ETF. That indicates a traditional market has a large market demand for investing in Web3 projects. And in view of this, I think whether or when does SEC and the relevant regulators approve the ETFs, that's important. I think I'm running out of time, but I'll just spend another 1 minute to do a closing. After an eventful first half of the year, it feels like the remainder of 2023 will be similar, if not more dramatic. And these are short-term ups and downs. In the long run, it's clear that crypto industry is poised to keep on thriving, whether it's Bitcoin price, it's more talents moving into the space from finance or tech industry, and more innovative projects being built, increasing level of mass adoption. These are all going to happen. And at Bitcoin, we want to inspire individuals. At Bitget, we want to inspire individuals to embrace Web3, empowering people to take great control over their data, digital identities, and the online interactions. And that means teaming up and investing together. For example, we have established a strategic partnership and allocated dedicated funds, including our 100 million Web3 fund. We also have an investment arm called Foresight Venture and an incubator called Foresight X. These are some of the initiatives we have to strategically, help the builders in the space. And I'm so excited to see the groundbreaking blockchain initiatives that I know these resources can support. It's truly an exciting time to be part of this industry, and let's keep on building. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Gracie. That was wonderful. And it was the perfect introduction to all the regions that we have coming up today. So thank you once again. And thanks, Bitget, for sponsoring Blockchain Week this year. We hope to have you again next year, fingers crossed. And have a lovely rest of the day, Gracie.
Thank you. Thank you. All the best to the event.
Thank you.